when we have such an agreement, even from the masses, from the unions, from journalists, you can do analysis on them. The key one that everybody seems to be talking about is wage award. And between that October, September, October, November, December, January, we are now in February. Only 1 month was paid. Some people got 2 months. And between the last time we gave ultimatum, they have paid some of us 1 month or 2. And the people they paid are not up to 40% of federal parastatus ministries and other establishments, federal. It is not on board that any state government has paid 35% wage award. Never. You can't tell your citizens lies. It's the issue of tax relief. Some of you are workers in federal establishments. Do you have any tax relief? Which we agreed upon? None.
That is a position of the Labour Congress. The President, Joe Ajaero, who was speaking today earlier at the press conference in Abuja, and they've called off the second day. I mean, there's supposed to be 2 day warning protests across the nation, which we saw some of the supporters of the NLC and members trooping out in their numbers in the major cities across the country. But they're saying that the federal government is quite not truthful and not diligent in the implementation. But how much of that is true? What is the true position of things? Yesterday on the program, we heard Minister of State for Labour, Honorable Onye George, who spoke to us about the implementation strategy and what they've done. But then let's get some more insight. Now that after that interview of yesterday, we are now getting more insight from the Labour. But let's hear directly from the presidency. I'm being joined by the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, who joins us virtually from Lagos. It's good to speak to you tonight, Mr. Onanuga.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon, for inviting me. Thank you, Sharon, for inviting me. Thank you, Sharon, for inviting me. Thank you, Sharon, for inviting me.
All right, then. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's get started. You heard in part what Mr. Joe Ajaero has said, that now they've given the federal government ultimatum, which is a fresh one, different from what they gave earlier, and they want the federal government to make good to the promise, to the letter and the spirit of the MOU. Let me get your reaction to some of what Mr. Ajaero said.
I think Ajaero keeps shifting the goalposts. There was a meeting in October, and certain things were agreed upon. And I can tell you categorically that the federal government, headed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has substantially implemented the terms of that agreement. You can see the reaction of TUC. The LSC was not the only labor union, central labor union that was part of that agreement. The TUC was there. The TUC saw no reason for Ajaero's protests, and he pulled out. 65 unions also agree with TUC and did not take part in the project because it was unnecessary. The government has done substantially what was agreed upon. I was at a meeting, at a review meeting some weeks ago, where government was taking all the items agreed upon and which has been done. The way there was, the government was slow in implementing it. In fact, at a stage, the president himself had to call on the officials to know why they've not paid the 35,000 wage award to civil servants up to date. But I can tell you, as I'm speaking to you now, that has been done. Payment has been made. In fact, people have gotten about four of the money because you're supposed to spread till April when the minimum wage will come into effect. So that has been done. The other aspect of it, the CNG buses, of course, Labour should know that you don't buy CNG buses on the shelf. They have to be manufactured. And according to the review we did some weeks ago, the timeline is that before the end of May, April, May, the bosses will come into this country, not just bosses. Government is investing heavily in also bringing in tricycles. Almost about 10,000 of them are going to be brought in. So all these things have been done. But as I say, Aguero keeps changing goalposts, bringing in some new things which were not part of the agreement that they agreed upon in October. So
I mean, let's get it clear. Are you isolating Joe Ajaero because he's supposed to be leading the NLC? But from the manner in which you're speaking tonight, it does look like you think that Joe Ajaero may have his own agenda. Is that what the position of the federal government in this matter?
No, that's not the position of the federal government. That should be the reading of any reasonable Nigerian, that Joe Ajaero is not actually playing the politics of labor the way it should be played. Sometimes that he appears to me as a very unreasonable labor leader. Why call people on the street when you can sit down and hold further talks with the government of Nigeria to know where the problem lies? And they would have given, the government would have given Mr. Ajaero and his group the explanation. Whatever has not been done, they would say this is the reason why we've not done this. But every time he keeps threatening government as if the government, as if the labor union will have to run the federal government. There's a division of labor. Government is government. Labor is labor.
Is that a crime, Mr. Onanuga? Apologies if I'm cutting. Is that a crime when the federal government seems not to be living to its bidding, and the labor and the organized labor is putting pressure on the government? Isn't that supposed to be the role of the organized labor, to put pressure on government, for government to be able to do what is right? Is it a crime that Joe Ajaero is leading this charge?
What I'm saying is that Ajaero has no point this time around. Absolutely no point to call people on the street and so on. He has no point. Honestly, I tell you, I have some of the agreements here. Government said it will pay 35,000 wage award to federal workers, everybody on government payroll, including myself. And I can tell you, government has done this up to date. Government said it's going to give 75 billion in the president's October 1 broadcast. Said it's going to help small and medium scale companies with 75 billion naira in various categories. The Bank of Industry is implementing this aspect of it. Government promised to bring in CNG buses. It's doing so. It's good. It's on stream.
One of the problems, Mr. Onanuga, right?
Consumption centers for CNG. It's been done.
One of the problems is the sincerity of government, which the labor had called to question. That, for example, that the implementation of the item 1, which is the wage award, is been done haphazardly. And starting from last year, it was only 1 month. And because the government was put under pressure, government hurriedly paid the backlog. That is what has been called to question, the sincerity of government to keep to the terms of agreement that is signed with labor.
No, as I told you, this government is very, very sincere. This government cares very much about the workers, not just the workers. Look, the workers are just a fraction of the people of Nigeria. In fact, the entire federal civil service has only 59,000 people, 59,000. So government is even looking at the larger picture. The majority of our people, about 200 million people out there, what are we going to do to help them? And so on. So it's not just workers, not just workers. How many are there? Not just workers. Because as I tell you, this government is sincere. This government has been trying as much as possible to implement all the palliative measures that it agreed with labor to do. It has even done more. It's planning to do more. Like, for example, the president announced on last week, or was it this week, on Monday, that he's going to pay unemployed graduates some stipends so that they can at least put them on a kind of safety net so that they can stay alive and survive the difficult times that we are in as of today.
So, I mean, if you look at all of these, there are 15 items, and Labour says they do not agree with the 85 to 95% pass mark that the federal government has said that is implemented. Labour says that, and this time around, the federal government should not call it on the eve of a protest the way they did this time around, that the federal government should make good to their promise. Did you get that?
No, the government just, you see, when a protest is called, you can predict the beginning. You never know how it will end. A street protest can be hijacked by hoodlums. We've seen it before. I remember when I was in the university in the 70s, we went on the march for protest against new fees and so on. Our protest was hijacked. It became bloodier than nobody even expected the way it went. People died. That's the kind of thing the government was trying to ensure does not happen. And that was why the government was trying to appeal to them. There's no need to call people on the street. Let us all be reasonable. Let us sit down and talk over anything that has not been done. We can tell you why it has not been done. And then we move on to implement. So
the question is, if you query and question the labor, what they call the hunger protest, are you saying that there is no hunger in the land? Are you saying there is no hardship in the land? Are you saying people are not facing difficulties? Are you saying the price of commodities are not high? Things are difficult, isn't it? Don't you feel it, Mr. Onanuga?
No, I'm not saying so. And this government is not saying so. If anything at all, the leader of this government, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been the one to always acknowledge the difficult times that we are in. He has always acknowledged it. He's never shied away from saying so, from saying, empathizing with Nigerians that understands the pains that Nigerians are going through. And every day is trying to look for ways to improve things so that Nigerians can have a better life and things can get better. People should also understand, the president not just come and say, I'm removing subsidy, or I'm trying to harmonize the exchange rates. Things were terribly bad when he took over. I needed to take those measures to save this country. This country was in trouble. Financially, we have serious problems, very, very high budget deficit. We was going to spend 97% of our revenue on debt service alone. We were borrowing money to pay workers. Things were getting out of hand. And there's no way things will have continued that way without us going into the ditch financially.
There are those who have questioned, Mr. Onanuga, sorry. There are those who have questioned the capacity of the government and that whether or not the promise is made and the fact that in 9 months, see how the indices of our economic and socio-economic life had gone south. And those who said that it doesn't look like this government has the capacity and the ability to be able to keep to his promise. In fact, there are those experts who believe that things have totally gone out of the hands of this government. That those who say they are disappointed in what they believe is the capacity of the Bola Tinubu government to be able to deliver. Things are terribly bad, worse than we have ever seen in our history.
Well, I don't agree with you. As I said, this government acknowledges the hardship that our people are going through. But I don't agree with you that things have really gone down south. The statistics actually knock out the point you are raising. If you see what happened in the last quarter of the year, the fourth quarter, we had improvement in the GDP of this country. I think about 3.5%, higher than what we experienced in the third quarter, which was 2.something%. This year alone, the secret governor said we are experiencing more inflow of this FDI, foreign inflow of money. More money is coming into the economy. So things are not really getting bad. They are not really getting worse, as people are saying. Things are looking up. The economy is going to pick up. And you can see the efforts of government to make sure that things are on stream. And when he invited the private sector to a meeting on Sunday. So the president making up all kinds of consultations, making sure that wherever there are some lacuna in government policy, all these things are taken care of. So the things are not looking down south, as we said. Things are going to get better. They are getting better already, and they are going to get much, much better as we move on into the year.
Mr. Onanuga, inflation rate 27-year high, reaching almost 30%. Unemployment rate, Mr. Onanuga, is almost shooting to 35%. You look at the exchange rate is, up until a few days ago was almost 2,000.
Yeah, no, that's not true. That's not true. Again, that's not true.
Mr. Onanuga, exchange rate on the parallel market was 1,700, 1,600. It just came to about 1,350 in a few hours, a few days ago.
The parallel market is not the real gauge of Nigeria's economic health. The parallel market is an illegal market. I don't know why Nigerians, even the media, are feeding on the parallel market. That is not where we should go. What is the CBN rate? As at Friday, the rate for the dollar, in fact, on Thursday was at 1.5. I think on Friday, according to the CBN website, it was at 1.6. So if you look at the exchange rate, even in the so-called parallel market, the exchange rate is stabilizing there, and that's what this country needs. Our economy is too much dollarized. Importers are looking at the exchange rate and using it to fix prices. Some of them arbitrarily, some of them are actually profiteering.
Is it a case of saboteurs have taken over the reins of this economy from this government, Mr. Onanuga?
Once the CBN succeeds in stabilizing the exchange rate, you will find that a lot of these prices will start going down. People will continue to get relief. And government is the major driver of our inflation is food. Government is investing heavily in that area. Heavy investment. Encouraging dry season farming, to plant maize, to plant wheat. And that's why the president has been trying to liaise with the governors so they can work together and boost food production and bring down the prices of food. All those efforts are on. And that's why I'm telling you, things are not going to get worse. They are going to get better as in the next few weeks.
So, that's what we pray. Those of us who don't have option, no other option than to stick with this country. This is what we know. This is what we believe, and we trust that this country will get better. But the fact remains that whether or not this government has what it takes, if it looks like the government is blaming saboteurs, and the question will be whether or not the saboteurs have taken over the reins of the economy from this government. But let me take you quickly.
Are you saying you don't have saboteurs? We have saboteurs. Look at what Binance is doing to our economy.
How did the government allow the saboteurs to take over? How did the government allow the saboteurs to have a sway?
That is why the government moved against Binance. Some people sit down using the cyberspace to dictate even our exchange rate, hijacking the role of the CBN. They just sit down and fix everything they like. And we were told, for instance, that if you don't clamp down on Binance, Binance will destroy the economy of this country. They just fix rate.
So it's a digital hijack of the economy. That's what it looks like.
Sabotage.
It's a digital hijack. There's some kind of hijack.
And we are trying to prevent that from happening henceforth.
All right. Quickly.
So this government has to be committed for recognizing the problem. Go ahead, Lance.
Let me get your view. There are those who are also asking questions, Mr. Onanuga, whether or not this government really understands what is going on. When it announced the implementation of the Steve Oronsaye report. Take, for example, Mr. Onanuga, you came out and the government also came out and announced it. But what a lot of people are not averting their minds to is the fact that the Oronsaye report seems to be outdated. Because at the time the Oronsaye report was published, the number of MDA's recommendation that was made in the Oronsaye report was a reduction of 263 agencies to 151. But since that time and now, the MDAs and agencies have grown to 1,316. Does the government realize that difference and that whatever that is being done is seen as window dressing?
Well, I think the government needs to be commended for taking the bold step to implement aspects of the Oronsaye report. Don't forget, this report was submitted to you. I agree with you, some of those we keep every day, the National Assembly keeps making laws, creating new commissions, new agencies, and so on. But you see, what the government has done is to recognize some of them. The Buhari government tried to do that. And what we did was to review the Buhari's government white paper on the Onanuga report. And largely, we look at other things, and then we've taken the bold step to begin to reduce the bloated bureaucracy that we have. It's the first step. It's not the end of the step. I'm sure
Mr. Onanuga, it doesn't look like playing the ostrich. You are reducing or subsuming. You are scrapping some agencies. Meanwhile, the government has increased ministries to about 46 or thereabout.
No. When government created more ministries, it does not mean that it's really going to. It will mean we are going to spend more money on the ministries. It's just government created more ministries for efficiency, so that they can, instead of giving a minister 3 portfolios, he faces one portfolio.
That was the problem the Onanuga report identified, that creating costs a lot of money. That has to be cut down. So that experts who are saying that the Tinubu government is getting it wrong by saying you are pruning down the number of MDAs, meanwhile you have more ministries than previous administration. Is it possible that this government will look into these in details and perhaps review what is done?
So that's what I'm saying. We have taken the first step. And I'm sure this government will continue to look into the size of government and try to pull it down. The president is very much concerned about the cost of running the government. In this budget alone, 9.9 trillion, the current expenditure, is about 7% higher than what was allotted in 2022. So the president is very worried that we must find a way of bringing down the cost. And I'm sure this bold step that has been taken, is the first step. I'm sure the government will continue to look at the structure of government to see where we can reduce the cost of governance.
So thank you so much, Mr. Onanuga. But I just have about 20 seconds for your final word tonight. And my question to you is that, are you worried as a key member of this Tinubu government that there is some kind of loss in trust about the capacity of this government to deliver on its promises, a dwindling effect in the minds of your supporters who voted for this government about the capacity of this government? Just in 20 seconds, if you may respond to that.
Well, I think what we have done is very clear. This government is on course. Is actually when we implemented the Onanuga report, it's in our manifesto. And if you look at what we have done, we've done a lot within 9 months to show that we know what we are doing, and that we are going, as we promised Nigerians, we are going to lead Nigeria to a better.
All right.
We are, for people, we enjoy more prosperity, more better health, and a lot of things, a lot of goodies under this administration. The problem we are going to look at what we are doing revenue-wise. This government hopes to increase our revenue by almost 100% in this fiscal year. And once we have more money, we can imagine what we are going to do.
More money, more
make
party.
sure that we are living.
All right, thank you so much indeed. Mr. Bayo Onanuga is a special advisor to the President, Bola Tinubu, on information and strategy. Thank you so much for part of your taking on this program tonight. Thank you so much indeed.